Is it good? Right. No, right. 1st of March, 2019. It's been a long time coming, but welcome back to the Vielle Google Hangouts. Now, remember that we're CPD accredited. So if anybody watching wants to get a CPD certificate after learning as much as they're going to learn today, by all means, contact any one of the team and we will organize it. The next thing is, remember to sign up to our YouTube channel so you can be the first to hear about new properties for sale and interesting videos that we may make available online. The next thing is, remember, we have a podcast. So I'm going to try today to describe people and describe things in case you're listening to this on your way home on the tube and you're not watching it live on screen. So remember, we've got a podcast, so you can download a Vielle podcast and listen to all the other ones from the past and gain your CPD certificates. Sign up to receive emails from singviellesales.com. And the last thing to remind you is we have on-screen notifications at singviellesales.com. If you click the little red button at the bottom left of your screen, you will hear about, again, all new sales before everyone else. So that's the introduction. Let's see who's around today. Right, so me, Neil Singer. Here is Dale Henry of Vielle.
Hi, everyone.
Here is Doug up in Scotland, Vielle.
Hi, everyone. Hi.
Graham Waddell.
Afternoon.
And we have our two guests today. We've got James and Marcus from, is it edozo? Edozo? Edozo. That's it. Edozo. Yeah. No. Okay. Now I have to, as people might be listening on a podcast, if I could let me try and describe. James is about 6 foot tall in a white shirt, very young, dashing young man, and Marcus, he looks a bit like Superman on his right, with a nice pair of glasses. Again, there's one thing though they're missing, and if you need to borrow a tie, I can get this bike round to you now. All right.
I think you mean Clark Kent, but I do have my pants on underneath my trousers.
Well, let's not start describing your pants. Okay, so let's go.
So you're not going to describe how we all look.
Well,
no,
okay. Graham Waddell, beard, shiny head. Doug no beard, shiny head. Dale Henry, beard, shiny head. There you are. Okay. Right, let's first of all talk about some activity at Vielle Sales. Let's talk about the market, and then we'll jump into edozo in a minute. Right, first of all, Dale Henry is going to give us a review of some of the things we've been doing recently. Dale, I think you can talk about Northampton. We might talk about Wales very quickly, and some of the things on the market and some of the things coming up. Is that a good idea?
It's a good idea. Yep, happy to. So just a quick review. I mean, despite the, should we say, tricky market conditions, we have been selling, I'm pleased to say. In fact, the week before last, we sold a retail and office investment in Northampton within 48 hours of launch. We went to the market on the Wednesday and generated some fast early interest, which resulted in two parties stepping forward, saying they wanted to buy the property. And after just 2 days, one of those parties submitted a online click-to-purchase offer, which was in excess of the asking price, which the client instructed us to accept, resulting in an immediate exchange. So 48 hours from launch to exchange on that one, which I think is a very good example of how our presentations allow investors to sort of quickly and easily understand a property, and then our click-to-purchase provides the speed and certainty to both buyer and seller. Another one, literally only about an hour ago, we exchanged on a, should we say, a challenging investment up in Wrexham, let to New Look, who, as you probably know, are in the middle of a CBA. That one we were offering for sale by online auction. We had a party step forward prior to the auction with an online offer, which the client instructed us to accept, immediate exchange of contracts. So that was done today. Should just give, in terms of just a quick overview of our sort of current sales we've got in the market, just very briefly, in case anyone's interested in taking a look. We've just launched a property in Brighton, which is a really interesting retail and residential investment and development opportunity. Vacant building in the town centre with planning consent for flats on the uppers. That's, you'll see a quoted price of 500,000. We've got a London roadside investment right on the Crooked Billet roundabout on the corner of the North Cirque, which is just under 13 years to quick fit, where we're quoting 1.295 million, 5%. We've got a long income industrial investment up in Aberdeen with 15 years unexpired with an RPI rent review next year. You'll see it's, if you can see, it's an interesting long-term redevelopment opportunity. It's 15 years, 2.9 million, about 9% going to just under 10% next year. Other bits, we've got a Sainsbury's investment in Poole, just under 5 years, again, right in the heart of the town centre, 1.2 million, about 6.75%. A long income retail investment in Windsor, prime pitch on Pescod Street, right by the castle, new letting, 15 years, at 1.1 million, 6%. We have an Argos, as you can see, in Worcester, again, prime pitch, a great covenant, expiring in 2023. That's showing 9%, 2.6 million. Graham and Doug have just launched another quick fit trade counter investment up in Glasgow, which they may want to talk about in a minute. I know that's, again, let to the full quick fit covenant, 2024 expiry, 900,000, 8.5%. And I think that pretty much covers the current sales. We have got a number of upcoming sales, a number coming through next week, so it's definitely worth keeping an eye. Register on our site for notifications if you haven't already. We've got a bank investment in the Cathedral City of Ely, which will be about 700,000. We've got a Specsavers investment in March, which will be 9%. Small, attractive lot size, 340,000. We've got another bank investment coming up for sale in Sutton Coldfield. We've got a prime retail investment coming up for sale in Richmond, let to a AAA tenant. So quite a few coming through. Oh, Stafford. Oh yeah, and we've got this. As you can see, we're just about to launch this Waterstones in Stafford as well, which is let on a long lease.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much, Dale. So there is, as always, plenty to buy at Vielle if you want to buy some investments, and we make it easy if you remember. So please do keep an eye and sign up to the rest notifications. Okay, so I thought what we should do is, there's some interesting things in the news to talk about generally, and at the same time, I think we can probably intertwine it with learning all about edozo. So shall I start? Can I talk about something that I thought was quite interesting that happened in the news today or recently? May I? Yes, yeah. Neil. Yes, Neil. Right. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was Purple Bricks. Now, interesting enough, Purple Bricks share price today is now 142 compared to its peak of £5. And its launch, I think it launched at about 120, didn't it? I think it launched at about 120. And so what's happened to Purple Bricks? And there's been a bit of news in various magazines. It's talking about the CEO's departed. They haven't been doing too well in Australia, and they haven't been doing too well here. So has the bubble burst for Purple Bricks?
I don't know, has it? They've just taken on the sponsorship of the Scottish Rugby International team, so don't know what that says about where they're going. But
what, Purple Bricks? I thought you meant us for a moment.
No, Purple Bricks. Well, I think they'd be better with Vielle than Purple Bricks for the sounds of it. But I mean, that was just announced probably a couple of months ago, so it's an interesting what has happened to Purple Bricks.
Well, I think what's happened actually, I think it's symptomatic of the market. I think there was a lot of hype about PropTech last year. I think actually it's subsided somewhat, and the market is down. But I have my view about agency, whether it's online or traditional, is if you don't give people the service they require, then they are not going to use you. And I'm not suggesting that Purple Bricks are not giving the service that they should be offering, but eMove obviously have had closed, and I wonder whether the shine has come off that sector, because there's still plenty of high street estate agents out there. So that's my view.
Can I jump in with a thought?
Of course you may.
Which is, Purple Bricks have caused a lot of excitement as an online estate agent, but of course they still rely on human beings on the ground to go and provide that service you're talking about. So we'll see where the share price goes in the future, and we'll see what impact on the number of physical estate agency offices in the country. One perspective I have on Purple Bricks is they're not as different to traditional estate agents as they look. It's still human beings on the ground going and valuing property and providing customer service. I don't think they're not as transformational as a model as they're trying to present themselves. And maybe that's why some of the hype is starting to fall away from the brand.
Yeah, could be. I've actually seen some very interesting new propositions coming up on the online estate agency world where their pricing model is somewhat different. I can't say too much because I'll be breaching confidences, but it's actually be very interesting to see what happens. But actually in London, if you went to an online agency, in theory, your price point, the amount you're paying your agent is actually relatively cheap. But when you go to lower value properties, I don't know, I don't know, up north somewhere where perhaps values are a bit lower, no disrespect to people who are up north, of course, I'm just saying values are a bit lower, then the actual differential between what you're paying online agents and your per local agent actually is not that different.
But you're paying in advance, of course, with Purple Bricks, aren't you?
You're paying?
You're paying in advance. It's a flat fee in advance, isn't it, I believe, as opposed to on completion of a deal.
I know some of the online agencies were trying to change their model a bit. But anyway, I think you and I agree. There is the key thing is customer service, in my view, more than anything else. Right. Anything else on Purple Bricks? I think it's very interesting. Anyone else?
Well, I think they just. I think they've just expanded too quickly. They tried to crack America. I think Australia as well, haven't they?
Yeah.
And I think they just maybe have, sort of before getting their house properly in order here. I think they've just gone for it a bit too. They tried to expand too quickly. I don't know if I wouldn't be surprised. I think they maybe need to sort of collaborate, and I don't know. Maybe is there a possibility of them merging with one of the corporate estate agents? I don't know. Possibly.
That's really.
Was that when you just said get their house in order? Did you mean to say that?
Yes, I did. Yes. Glad you picked up on that.
Okay. Right. I've got one more topic I'd like to raise with people before we learn all about edozo. Help to Buy. So another thing in the news recently was Persimmon facing the loss of the Help to Buy homes contract. Criticism about the quality of their property, quality of their build, and meanwhile, I think they're the biggest. I think the MD took quite a big pay packet last year. I think he took it was quite into the many tens of millions. So I have a particular view about the Help to Buy. But before I tell you about my view, who wants to? Has anyone got any thoughts about Help to Buy? No? Okay. Well, I'll tell you. Go on, Dale. Off you go.
Well, I just think, personally, I see it as developers making massive profits, which is funded by taxpayers' cash. I don't understand why the government, why doesn't the government use the Help to Buy funding to build more houses rather than lending the money to people to push up house prices? It just more houses need to be built to solve the problem, surely.
I'd agree with that sentiment. I mean, there's been a couple of cases where developers are pushing prices because they know that first-time buyers are getting a guaranteed amount. So it's a very convenient win for them, actually, and the consumer ends up losing out because you might have equity in the property was not actually worth as much as you bought it for. So it is interesting.
Who's tapping? Someone's tapping. Yeah, I think Help to Buy is the worst idea ever created for the residential property market. I think it has completely overinflated the market. This whole idea of, it's very simple. What people probably don't realize, and you're now beginning to hear the stories, is that if you buy, let's say, a flat for, I don't know, 500 grand, and you go and get a mortgage for 300, and you get Help to Buy of 150,000, you need a £50,000 mortgage. Great. And the 150 is, I believe, interest free for the first 4 or 5 years. And then if you haven't sold the property, you then start paying an amount on it. But when you sell your property for £500,000, maybe for 550, you've got to pay back the 150. So all of a sudden, you've got to find another 150 for your next property. So you're actually, hopefully, you've had a very good few years and you've saved up another £150,000. But the chances are, it's extremely difficult to do so. So the chances are you're sort of locked. But the second thing, and here's the big problem, is that it only applies to the first time purchase of a property. So if you've got your flat for $500,000 and down the road, a developer's just built another new block, very similar, also offering their new properties for $500,000, no, someone who's going to buy the property down the road with a Help to Buy on there only needs £50,000 of cash, but to buy yours, they need the 150 plus 50, they need 200. So where are they going to go? They're going to go down the road. So you're locked into your flat because you can't sell it. And people fail to understand that. And for that reason, I think it's the worst possible scheme around. It's overinflated the market. I should be a government advisor, shouldn't I? That's my view anyway. Right, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about edozo. You're on. Go.
Hello. We start with introductions.
Yeah. So well, we might start with an introduction. So Neil very kindly was very complimentary. Thank you, Neil. But I'm James Shaw. I'm the business development director or sales director, and I'll let Marcus introduce himself.
I'm Marcus. I'm the co-founder.
And tell us all about edozo. Do you want me to, I've got your presentation or I've got your website. What would you like me to show people?
Yeah, if you bring up that link, Neil, just as a sort of prompt, people can have a look at.
Sorry, the PDF or the website?
Oh, the PDF.
The PDF. Okay.
Yeah.
There we go. All right. How's that? Yeah.
So there's a couple of different sides to the business, and we'll probably go through them one by one. So what you see there is we lead with the future of property maps. So we have an OS mapping tool for valuation surveyors and others, and agents as well. These are ordnance survey maps that are typically put in agency brochures, valuation reports, and so on. What sets us apart is that auto polygon technology. We're linked to the land registry, so in one click, it automates the title boundary of a property. You wouldn't have to necessarily check a title plan and then draw a red line around the property itself. It's a single click title boundary generation tool. So that's on the mapping side, and we can elaborate more on that a bit later if you guys have any questions. If you scroll down, Neil, we've got our other two propositions. So this is our market insight tool. On the left-hand side, we've got that edozo search, and this started as a comparable exchange. So commercial property surveyors can exchange accurate information through our portal. It's now evolved a bit, and now we have other market insight data on there as well. So we have our own research team that does research data sets. We add public data to that as well, VOA and availability, and soon to be land range data as well. And it's a general market comparables and research tool for the commercial property sector. So that's the search side. Then we've got our pipeline. So really popular product of ours with leasing agents, commercial leasing agents. We digitize any of your historic deal data as well as any third-party data you have sitting in the business, and we strip out all the lease events for you and give you a dashboard and a pipeline of all your upcoming lease events in your geographic area of focus. Really useful tool. It alerts you to rent reviews, lease expiries and breaks and so on, and allows you to manage the workflow of that deal, as it were, with a sort of a CRM system as well.
Can you give us an example of, you know, how people in the game might actually use it in terms of a day-to-day, where it makes things more efficient or gives information they might not otherwise obtain? The mapping is, I think, quite straightforward, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think. But in terms of, I'm just interested how somebody goes about using the data sets. What's your experience of people using it?
Yeah, so I think a good example, so on our pipeline tool, we're currently doing a project with Colliers, for example. As a department, or as an independent, even if you were to be an independent business, you'd have a lot of third-party data sitting in your folders at work. So call it investment brochure data. So Vielle create loads of investment brochures, sends them around the market. Those get saved in your hard drive and they never get looked at again. But actually, there's some valuable leasing data in there in your tenancy schedules. And for an agent doing, or for a leasing agent doing deals in that geographic area, that's pretty good information to know exactly when that tenant might be leaving or that property might be becoming vacant. So we really help unlock that data that's been sitting there unused and bring it to light on our system. And then it's essentially just having a better view of what's happening in your local market. So that would be an example of how a client would use the pipeline. On search, so you're a valuer looking for comparables. That's office, retail, industrial, or commercial property comparables. You haven't managed to find them elsewhere. You go onto edozo, you've got a massive data set of research on there as an additional research tool to find comparable data, essentially. Okay.
All right. It's very interesting. And you've got some...
Can I just jump in on maps? So it is the simplest, but actually it's really important part of what we do. So if you take JLL, at the moment they have been in the past producing boundary maps to go into every valuation report. Without total confidence on the site area and the accuracy of the title boundary that they're putting into the valuation report, our unique functionality gives an almost 100% guarantee on the accuracy of that information going into the report. So they feel they're giving a much better product now to the lenders they're working for.
What are you able? Do you pull that from a title number or from an address?
Yeah, we work with a digitalized data set which gives us accurately the title boundaries, so that you don't have to go and manually draw a title boundary onto a map. Our auto polygon feature means you can create the title boundary with a single click and know it's accurate.
And do you want that information to the valuer say, this is it, these are the boundaries?
Sorry, beg your pardon.
Do you provide some sort of warranty with that information so the valuer can say with that these are the boundaries?
No, the warranty we would provide is that this is the information as provided by the land registry. So it's as accurate as that. And then a professional valuer will, of course, have their own view on every aspect of the valuation of the property. With everything we do, we always we have the comfort of knowing that we're working with professional people who will always, before giving a piece of work to their client, reach their own professional view.
Okay. Yeah, we provide the two single sources of truth: the OS, the Ordnance Survey mapping, and then the land registry polygon. So you couldn't get much better than that. Those are the two single sources of truth for the industry. We match them together. But I suppose, in answer to your question, any prudent surveyor, might have to provide more comfort depending on their instruction. Yeah, we just provide them the means with this to do so.
Do you have competition?
Yeah, everyone does, and we're not alone. So on the data side, we've got various providers of comparable data and other market information. We're different because we enable analysis of the data you hold inside your business. then sharing of data between firms, and thirdly, we aggregate multiple data sources in one place. And on the mapping side, we compete against older style boundary map companies who provide the traditional click-to-point boundary maps.
Okay. Well, what I would say, if anybody would like to meet edozo, they can either go to edozo.com, or they can contact me or anyone of the team here, and we'll introduce them to James or Marcus directly, and we'll hopefully that will open up a useful tool for agents and sellers, etc. How did you come up with the idea, guys? And are you
my co-founder Andrew was a 20 years experienced commercial surveyor. He was at LSH and then in a big independent firm. So it really came from his personal experience of feeling he didn't have access to enough market information. He didn't have good enough tools at the right price point as well. So he was looking at the costs of software in his business and the lack of accurate information. And we said together, there's got to be a better way of doing this.
Are you a property guy? I can't remember.
I'm not. No, I was originally an ad man, and then I became entrepreneurial, and I grew a business in the property sector, and then I got hooked on this with Andrew a few years ago, and we started talking about the opportunity. I loved how specific it was to the opportunity, and how clearly we could see a market, commercial surveyors that needed better tools.
So I've also been involved a little bit in PropTech, as you know. What sort of, this is probably for James really, how do you find the industry in terms of trying to embrace tools such as this new stuff? And for those on a podcast, Marcus is now smiling.
So we have a big thing here, and I'd start by saying that generally, at the moment, people are the door's pretty open to looking at tech. I think it's now top of mind. It's become more so over the last year. So the sector is looking at it. One of the things we have is everyone likes to look at it, and some people even like to use it and buy it. But it's just managing to engage people enough to keep using it once they've got it. So you have multiple platforms in a business now. Doing different things, and it's how do you keep yours top of mind and relevant to the surveyors. So the door is open, but it is a bit of a journey. It can be a tough sell at times, but you are taking people into a new territory. So I think the story of what you're trying to achieve with the business, achieve with the platform, is just as important as what it actually does. So that's my thought.
Yeah, I think PropTech has been through an enormous hype, and then sort of came down a bit. But now the real use cases are actually coming forward, and there has been a dramatic change of attitude amongst the industry. I actually think it's when things become a bit more difficult, people start looking for help, and they start looking for business efficiencies. And I think actually the certain PropTechs will now emerge very much so. But I think people have slightly overplayed the PropTech word. Really, it's about helping people in business. But anyway, it's very interesting. I wish you lots of luck with edozo. I mean, I know we've chatted about it. I think it's great.
Could I ask a question, Neil?
Of course. Sorry.
Yeah. Hi, it's Douglas here in Glasgow. Interesting question on the comps side of it, and particularly on the data protection. I had a conversation just about a month ago with someone who had said that they had been relying on some investment particulars to approach a firm of lawyers who had a break coming up in their lease. And the lawyer got awful shifty because he said, no, that's a breach of data protection because you've used that information which was not provided for that purpose. You have no right to contact me. I just wondered if you had found a way around, or if there were any data protection issues that you had to circumnavigate to allow you to produce your data and have that presented to subscribers.
I think the important point here is when it comes to lease event information, the information that you see as an edozo subscriber is your own information. You're just visualizing better on the platform. What we don't do is what some other technology platforms do and go and advertise lease event dates and contact details of property occupiers and owners aggregated from other sources. So edozo is not doing anything which circumvents data protection, and we really feel it's down to the professionals to judge whether the information they've got enables them to contact the occupier or owner or not. We're just the platform they use to organise the information.
Yeah, almost like a private database in that respect. And I'll chime in as well. We when GDPR came last year, when you share a comparable on our platform, we redact the party details. So if you were to share information with someone from our system, we don't share the party details, because there's always the risk that could be your personal information. The tenant could be an individual, for example. So that's what we've done as well. But we've got a data professional here who looks into all of that, and we're more than comfortable that it's all compliant. Yeah.
Great. Thanks very much.
So if an agent sends me a brochure with lease information in it, which they do all the time, and I haven't, and they must be. Are you saying that you think they're breaching data protection? Are they? It's in the public. Can't you? Isn't that information in the public domain?
That's a question for your colleague, I think, is it? Who opened the debate?
Yeah, Doug, isn't it in the public?
Yeah. Well, yeah, for that purpose, yes, for the purpose of you buying that single investment. But if you were then, as I understand it, to use that for another purpose, then no. I was with you, Neil. That's what I understood it to be. I was quite surprised that this came up in the conversation a while ago, and that's why I was interested to ask how edozo were approaching that. Yeah. But it's a bit of a minefield out there. I think a lot of people are not aware of what the legalities of it.
Yeah, it's not just the investment.
It's not just the investment brokers, you were saying.
Right, yeah, you know, we first and foremost we take your own information and feed it back to you. So that's what we predominantly do. So if your company has done 100 deals in the last 2 years, we'd help you digitize those first. If you happen to have some third-party data, we call it, such as brochures, people keep their own transaction schedules in the business. You know, deals going around in the market. We put those onto the dashboard for them just to visualize it, and we don't show it publicly. This is for their own private use. So it's just aggregating what they've already got in the business into one place, almost like you can imagine a giant Excel spreadsheet of all the data in your business for your own private use. So that's it. The only public-facing bit is that we give you the ability to share your own deals. So only Vielle deals, for example, could be shared with the market. You're not allowed to share third-party data with the market in that respect.
It's really interesting what you're talking about there, because Neil asked about competitors. I mean, is CoStar a competitor, do you see, in terms of the... Sorry?
Yes, absolutely. So
yeah, because I think CoStar is it was a great idea when it was first launched as Scottish Property Network many years ago. But and if they're watching, I hope they are watching. That I'm quite uncomfortable that they phone me every month and say, "Have you done any deals?" And they say, "Well, I might have, but I'm not necessarily going to share them with you," because all they're doing is taking your information and then trying to sell it back to you.
Yeah, exactly. So that was one of the reference points when we started edozo. So we work with hundreds of property firms who want to store and visualize their deal data within their organization for their own private use, and then who want to choose how much of that information they're going to share with other property professionals over our network. Whereas CoStar don't give you any choice in the matter. Once you've answered that telephone call and given them the information, they will report that as verbatim information to the rest of the market with no controls. And it doesn't seem to us to be the way in which property professionals like to share information.
Yeah.
The way you guys do it, aside from technology, is you speak to each other. You phone calls, email, and you decide on a one-to-one basis what level of information you want to share about the deal, and we create that dynamic on our platform.
You've all got me very worried, actually, about what we've got on Vielle. I think we're okay. I might have to. I think I might phone my lawyer this afternoon to check. Anyway, as we're on to tech, right? As we're on to tech, should we move on to another topic that's tech related? Because Graham's bursting to tell us about a topic close to my heart, aren't you, Graham?
Well, I sort of, yeah. I mean, we know our esteemed leader, Mr. Singer, has been talking about blockchain for so long, so I took the decision to try and understand a bit more about it, although people say the thing about blockchain is you don't necessarily have to understand it, you just have to know it's there. But I watched a fantastic TED Talk by a guy called Don Tapscott, which tried to
he's very well, he's well known. He's well known.
The thing about blockchain, and he said some very, very interesting and relatively easy to follow things. But I mean, one of the most powerful things he said is that he said it's the new internet now. And Neil and I talked about this earlier. It's a bit like prop tech has been very hyped up, and then it's going to die down a wee bit, and that may be the same with blockchain. But I do think, having watched that, without a shadow of a doubt, it will impact on everybody's day-to-day lives going forward. And actually, I've got no problem saying this. I think the fact that Vielle has logged a transaction on the blockchain network is incredible. I think that's absolutely superb, because it's all going to go that way.
Yeah, we've lost our guests. We've lost our guests. You've scared our Graham. You've scared our guests off.
Oh, maybe you said thank you and cheerio.
Well, you know, blockchain is very. For a tech company, maybe they've lost their internet. Anyway, hopefully they'll be back soon. Look, I think the thing about blockchain is exactly what you said. You don't need to know how it works. You just need to know it's there. I think that it is. What's interesting is I went to a talk last year. It was a conference about blockchain, and someone got up and they said, "I don't understand why we're having a discussion about it. You don't have conferences about Excel or Word or PowerPoint. Why are we having a conference about blockchain technology?" Which is actually quite a valid, it's quite an interesting point they made. I think it's got huge implications, but if I can suggest, there's one key thing that it does to the industry and how it will help us all, and it's about trust. Because edozo, James and Marcus were talking about data just now, and if data is anchored in a blockchain, it is data which can't then be changed and hacked, and therefore it's reliable. And because it's reliable, it makes it very valuable. So that is, in my view, the most valuable side of blockchain. The idea of everyone transacting online. I'm not all around the world where there are servers. Everyone's there are people are using different platforms on a distributed ledger. I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see. I'm not sure, but it's very interesting. But I think the blockchain bubble is, I think it's huge hype. I think it's come down and it's now sort of settled. And you can actually see that by looking at the price of Bitcoins. I think Bitcoins went from, what did they go up to? They went up to something like 30 or 40,000 or something, 20,000, 30,000. They're now $3,000, aren't they?
Yeah, but the other thing about Bitcoin is they're the kind of cryptocurrency that everybody knows about, but there are hundreds of others out there that are all trading and everything else. But the thing you're talking about security and data and everything else, I mean, I think from the way the world's going now, people's personal information is so available out there, and that has to change. And I think that's what blockchain will help do as well.
Guys, do you have any plans to use blockchain technology in your business?
No, we don't. No, we have plenty of conversations with people we work alongside that use blockchain. We've got a perspective on this, which links back to your point about the bubble, which is you should be using blockchain where there's an immediate application for it in your business, where it brings real benefit to your customer. What we're not going to do is try and find some blockchain application to build a brand story. We'll build in that technology as required as the business evolves.
I couldn't agree with you more. No, it's true. I've seen it. I you know, last year, was it last year? And about just over a year ago, no, about 15 months ago, when there was this whole hype about raising money and tokenizing your business, I had a couple of guys, I hope they're not watching, come to see me about advising me to tokenize the click-to-purchase business and then launch it on the Gibraltar Exchange. And they wanted £300,000 to advise me. £300,000. And and they weren't experts because the whole thing was brand new. So I think what's happened is people have jumped on the bandwagon. They're probably going to phone me up now. Some of them have already done it, but I have to say, when I actually that figure was quoted to me, I think for me that's when I thought, there's something not right about this. But it's very interesting, and that I would actually, I've watched that video, the exact one you've watched, Graham, and I think it's an excellent video. It's had something like 3 or 4 million views, hasn't it?
Yeah, no, it was. It's a wee bit dated now. It was actually 2016. Looking back on it, but it was quite simply described, which was good in it, and it was good about the applications that he felt would benefit from it. So no, it was good.
Yeah, and if anyone's interested, this guy's Dan Tapscott has also written a number of books about blockchain. So in fact, you might want to pop into the Waterstones that we're selling in Stafford to buy the book from Dan Tapscott and make sure the rent gets paid. Right, so that's very very nice bit of technology there, Graham. Right, should we go on to something which is not technology? Dale's got an interesting subject for us, haven't you, Dale?
Well, I'm interested in the current situation surrounding Sir Philip Green in the Arcadia Group. So what everyone's thoughts are, but I'm sure, as you've all seen, Philip Green's been hitting the headlines for all the wrong reasons at the moment. Only this week, Karen Brady stepped down as the non-exec chairman, and you've had. It also was reported this week that Arcadia has to have its insurance cover cut, I think, for the second time within a year. And you've had, and I think I've read that Deloitte's have been drafted in for a review of the group, which could result in about 200 store closures and hundreds of job losses. And then on top of that, you've got all the scandals surrounding Philip Green about all of the allegations, harassment and bullying, and it's just it seems to me like his retail empire is imploding. And whilst many people probably won't be shedding too many tears over that, I wonder what it could potentially have pretty significant impacts on the high street if his group does collapse, which it does seem like it's heading that way at the moment. So I don't know what other people's thoughts are.
Well, it's not very cheery, but I think you're probably right. But I think kind of allied to that, the worst thing would be that then, and not that personally I've got any particular issue with Mike Ashley, but then he comes in and picks over the bones of it. I mean, I think one of the nice things was that HMV went to the Canadian company and it didn't go to Mike Ashley, and this guy, hopefully he will make HMV work. So it's maybe a chance deal for other people to come into the market and do something different. And maybe, I'm not saying it's a good thing, but it might be the opportunity for people to look at some of these operations in high streets and stores and try and come up with something different. Because I think people need to come up with some different concepts and ventures. So it's maybe an opportunity.
I think that before this scandal, I think Topshop was rumored to be having some issues anyway, wasn't it? Because it was very late to moving to the online world. And I think the online world, I don't think that the shops are going to close in the high street. I think people like going shopping, but there's just too many shops. It's as simple as that. I think we all know it. There's too many shops. What's interesting about the way online is moving is what happened this week with M&S. And M&S doing a deal with Ocado. So I don't know if people are watching know. M&S have done a deal with Ocado. I think they've laid out 750 million, and Ocado will be doing home deliveries for M&S, and Ocado will be terminating their relationship with Waitrose. Now, what's interesting. Will that mean that the M&S locals, which of course have been fantastic investments for the property market, generally for the private investor and institutional investor, I wonder what will happen to the number of stores that will be around.
But they're not delivering in Scotland.
What?
No.
Oh, for crying out loud.
As far as I'm sure I read, it's not that it doesn't exist.
Oh, there we go again. Yep, poor old Scotland. Yep.
Well, maybe I don't know. I'm sure Nicola will have something to say about that.
Let's not go there.
Okay, so that's the okay. I've got my. Can I have my last topic? My last topic.
The guests are away again.
Yeah, they've gone again. Yeah, they'll be back in a moment. They've gone. They haven't paid the meter. That's the problem. Right. I would like to raise. I've never done this before. I'm going to talk politics. Can I talk politics? Am I allowed to?
If we must.
Yeah, come on. Let's talk politics. What do people think of the independent group that's just formed, and how will it affect our market? Who wants to go first? Come on, I'm going to get this out of you, and I'm going to come on. Let's be positive. What do people think up in Scotland, guys? Doug, Graham?
I actually, to be honest, Neil, when you put it on the agenda, I've not really got any real thoughts about it. I think that it's a bit of a distraction to everything else that we're trying to do. And what are they trying to achieve? I mean, do you know, if they were going to actually set up a proper political party to challenge the other two, then brilliant, bring it on. Let's try and do something. But I'm not entirely sure what their game is, what their goal is.
And I think the issue as well is that it's going to mean that next general election, more parties, less likelihood of a massive majority in one single party. So it's probably pointing us to coalition government again for next cycle, would be my view.
And the question is, how will it affect us, guys? Did you hear that? You didn't pay your meter again, did you? We've gone political.
Yes,
we've gone political because I've never done this before. But what do you think of the independent group?
Well, it seems to have increased the chances of a second referendum is one outcome, isn't it?
That's true. That's true.
Labour, Jeremy Corbyn really didn't want one, and it was only the loss of a big group of his MPs that forced him into that position. The fact that the official opposition now supports a second referendum puts it back on the agenda, whereas most commentators had written it off even a month ago.
What do you think, Neil?
I think the independent group, I think it's the best thing that could have happened to politics for years. I think that the Labour Party, don't hope I don't get any knocks on my door. I think the Labour Party is a lost cause. I think that they've turned into a nasty. I'll tell you what summed up the Labour Party, and I'm going to go on record, is 7 MPs resigned over bullying in the Labour Party, amongst other things. And what does Emily Thornberry do? She gets up on a platform a few days later and she personally insults every single one of the people who left. I mean, meanwhile, Heidi Allen left, and Anna Soubry and Sarah Wollaston, I think it was, left the Tory party, and Michael Gove, in an interview sitting next to Heidi, says, "I'm really sorry that you left," and there was no personal insult at all. I think Labour, Emily Thornberry showed Labour for what they really are, and God forbid they get into power, because if they do, the property market, which is what we're all interested in, would absolutely collapse. So, but I think that they're imploding. I think the far right, the sort of the ERG though, equally have been holding the Tory party to ransom. And I don't like the way they go about things. And I voted Tory my whole life. The fact that there is a new centre party with people from both the left and the right is the best possible thing for the country. Because the country in my lifetime has never been so divided. You've got left and right. You've got north and south. You've got rich and poor. Your haves and have-nots. It's never been so divided. If there's a new central group which will bring people together, it would be the best possible thing for the country. That's what I think.
And I don't disagree, but it's what I said at the beginning. Is that really their agenda? Have they really set out what are they going to be a political party?
I believe, from what I've heard, without question.
Yeah,
that's what I believe. Yeah, I think so. I think so. I mean, also Ian Austin, who I think, if anybody, what I would recommend anybody watching, and I mean, I do take quite an interest in this. There's a couple of things I would suggest you do. Go and read Joan Ryan's resignation letter from the Labour Party. It's pretty strong stuff. Go and read, go and watch Ian Austin's interview, why he resigned from the Labour Party. Go and watch the playback from the press conference when the 3 Conservatives recently left. They were not leaving I think the media in some ways have played this all about Brexit. It's not actually. That's not necessarily the reason they left. They were unhappy the way their parties were going. And I think they should be applauded. I think they should be given a chance and applauded. That's my personal view. And I actually think, interesting enough, I think, you remember, it wasn't so terrible when we had a coalition between the Tories and the Liberal Democrats. It wasn't so awful, actually. And I don't think, I think coalition governments actually aren't a bad thing. So I suppose it does depend who's in the coalition, but it does actually bring a bit of balance. I think the property market is suffering from this huge political uncertainty. Having said that, there's still people buying property, but people are clearly a little bit more nervous about what they're buying. So I actually think the independent group's a great idea, personally.
So there you are. The property people in the room, given that Brexit does bring uncertainty to the property market, would you rather we had a very messy Brexit now, or another year or so of uncertainty whilst we look to try and stop it?
What a choice! What a choice! I'm not. Oh, geez, yeah. Don't know. I mean, a lot of people have heard me say. I mean, we've been kind of through something similar when we went through the independence referendum, and I suppose the good thing about that was we had a date, there was a vote, it was done, and we all thought, great, let's move on. And then 2 weeks later, the SNP popped up and said, oh, this isn't over yet. But there was no doubt that after that date came and went and the result was out, there was definitely more activity. But I mean, what your question is a very difficult one to answer. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, let's see. So let's have a go. We've got very educated people here. Let's see what they would choose. It's a good question. Great question. Like that question. Right, Dale, what do you think? You got a vote. You got a choice. You got a choice. Hard Brexit or extension?
Neither a great choice. But if I had to choose one or the other, I'd say no. I wouldn't favour an extension. If I had to choose.
Okay. Doug?
Yeah, I think very short-term extension, a month or two, probably not effect. But I'm looking like most people are, hopefully for some sort of post-Brexit bounce. So get it sorted and get on with it.
1-1, Graham.
Yeah, no, messy Brexit. Let's just draw a line under it. And,
so it's 2-1. You'd like to get on with it?
Yeah.
No, you're not. No, 2-1. Now you're saying get on with it now. Doug's saying short extension. Graham's saying get on with it now. Okay. What do you guys think? Very political today, isn't it? I feel like they. I feel like Fiona Bruce.
Fiona Bruce. You look like her. Yeah. Fiona Bruce.
I think if there's a direction, it probably helps your market. I'm interested to know, has the uncertainty impacted your pricing?
I would say definitely. Yeah. And again, the people who are in the market, it's not stopped because it's not going to stop, but the people in the market are expecting to, because there's a lot of people not in the market, those that are in are expecting to get deals. And I would say it's definitely affected pricing. We had a client in this morning who's saying, well, we don't need to sell, so should we wait 6 months? And it's difficult. Sometimes it depends on the asset. It very much depends on the asset, but I think it has had an impact.
My 2 penneth is, I think people underestimate the uncertainty that will come after a Brexit has been achieved. This is just one stage in the journey. So I'd rather see even a 12-month delay to Brexit, hopefully with the outcome of a second referendum deciding to keep us in, because any Brexit now is then going to lead us into the next phase of what should our relationship with Europe look like. We're looking at years of uncertainty and impact on the market if we do leave, I think.
So hold on. So where are we up to? Hold on. We've got now delay. Now did you two commit? Did we get what did you two say? Did you say delay? Did you say
James was political about it. I've said delay and try and return a different verdict in the next referendum.
And I said it would be better there was a mess in the short term for property. You have a direction. You have loads of people wanting to sell through click to purchase now.
Yeah, that's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear. I actually was I was walking my dog about one of my dogs a few weeks ago, and I phoned up LBC, and everybody was slagging off Theresa May, and I must have been the only person who said just go with her, because they put me straight through on air. I was the only one, and I said, look, we just need to draw a line under this and move on. Enough is enough. But I've changed my mind, actually, because I think if you see what's happened in Swindon in the last few weeks, and you've seen what's happened with the Nissan factory in Sunderland, why on earth would you in Japan carry on production in the UK when Japan and Europe have got a free trade deal, and we don't know the relationship between the UK and the rest of Europe? You just wouldn't. And I'm really worried that that's just going to be the start of it. So when everyone talks about, oh, we'll just jump the WTO rules, right? Well, if the no one even knows what the WTO rules are. Everyone just says it. But if it's all so fantastic, these WTO rules, then why do you need separate trade agreements? So they obviously aren't that good. I think, so my view is, as much as a disaster it will be by delaying it, if I had the choice of drawing a line under it now and having an issue, I would delay it. But my personal view is that Theresa May will get her deal accepted by Parliament, because I think that what's going to happen, I think people are beginning to, the ERG are probably worried that if they don't go with it, they'll end up being a second referendum. And I don't think they want the second referendum. So that's my personal view. There's politics for you. How about that? We don't normally do politics, do we? Probably going to get hate mail now.
Here's an interesting point, though. I mean, I stumbled across Question Time last night, which I don't tend to watch because it's just so. But the point was made that there was a survey done of something like 28,000 people. If there was a second referendum, how would the vote go? And the survey suggested that the vote would be the same. So much as everybody thinks, oh, if there's a second referendum, we're all going to vote against it, that survey, which was pretty comprehensive, suggested it would still be the same.
Yeah, I get the same impression, actually. I think, but anyway, it is what it is. It is what it is. Okay, guys. So look, we've had a really interesting, we had politics, we've had Philip Green, we've had blockchain, and we've had Help to Buy, Purple Bricks, and edozo. So it's been a very interesting hangout, hasn't it, guys? 1 hour. So remember, if anybody wants to be introduced to Marcus or James, it would be my pleasure, our pleasure, and I hope their business grows. Now, the last thing I have to do, I've got a good question. If you want a CPD certificate, you have to answer a question to prove that you actually watched the Hangout. Graham Waddell earlier said that he'd watched a video, a TED Talk on YouTube from a very well-known commentator about blockchain, and his name was Mr. Tabscott. What's his first name? That's a good question, isn't it? What's his first name? All right. So there you go. So there's your question, guys. Thank you very much. That's been quite interesting today, hasn't it? Now we haven't had many. This is our first Hangout of the year. We've got more guests coming forward in the next few weeks. Sorry, next few months. If anybody watching would like to be a guest, you are more than welcome to drop us a note, and we'd love to have as many people as possible with different views. That's it, guys. All finished? 1 hour. Look look at that for accuracy. 2 o'clock. So, guys, edozo, thank you very. Are you going to be at MIPIM? You guys going to MIPIM?
We are. Yeah.
Oh, we'll have to have a drink.
Oh, great.
We'll have a drink. Okay. So thanks very much for coming on, and we will hopefully put lots of calls your way shortly.
Thank you, Neil.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Yes,
Doug.
thanks.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Dale. Thank you. Me. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.